This is Andrew Knoll here with Oregon State head coach Mike Riley. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, Coach, I wanted to talk about the preseason. What are your expectations heading into the year, and how have things gone with spring workouts and everything so far this summer?
Well, I love our team. I think the work ethic of our team has been outstanding. I think they're hungry. Great off-season program. Spring practice was good. I think the summer workouts, from what I've been told, are going real well. So I think this team has great intentions. Now we've got a lot of mystery out there. We can't. I don't think people can predict the Beavers very well right now. You know, we've got James Rogers, who's a great player, a great leader on our team that had 2 major surgeries in the off season on the same knee, and I think James will be back. But you know, how soon and how well, I don't know. We had 4 other guys that had off-season surgeries, didn't participate in spring ball. So fall camp is going to be huge for these guys. And I think generally fall camp will be huge for our team. We've got to make a ton of progress with all of our players heading one direction in order for us to be any good.
And you mentioned some of the questions. Of course, people were electrified by your running game a lot last year, and you've got some transition there. Can you talk about the guys that are going to be in your backfield this season and what we can look for out of them?
Well, I thought we had about 4 or 5 guys that had good spring practices, you know, and everywhere from Ryan McCants, who is a senior, to Teron Ward, who's just joining our team as a gray shirt freshman. And it was his first go-around. I think those guys, Javon Stevenson, Malcolm Marble, they all took their turns and look good. Who's going to be the number 1 back? I do not know right now. I'm going to let them go into fall camp. We're going to add a couple of freshmen. We'll get Jordan Jenkins back from the off-season surgery, and we're going to let them play some more before we say, you know, who's going to be our starting running back. And it might be that we play 2 or 3 of them.
And you've got a nice double threat in Wheaton.
Yeah.
Feel like it's going to be a dynamic part of the offense again this year?
Has to be. You know, Marcus stepped up last year when James got hurt and started growing right in front of our eyes as a player, playmaker. So I'm excited about Marcus's growth, and I'm very aware of the impact that he'll need to make if our passing game is going to be any good.
And then on the other side of the ball, it looks like you've got a pretty nasty back 7 there, your linebacking core and your secondary. What are you looking for as far as their impact this season?
Well, I think the secondary, we need stability back there, and we should get it. We have veteran players back there, you know, guys that have played a lot of football for us. Anthony Watkins and Lance Mitchell at safety, Brandon Harden and Jordan Poyer at corner. I've got some young corners that are kind of entering into the picture, giving us some good depth there and good competition. So, you know, that part's got to be stable. Linebackers, I think we're going to be growing, or we will have grown at middle linebacker, because all the guys that played last year at middle linebacker, 3 guys, they're all back. Feti Unga looks like he's going to be the starter going in. We'll have 2 new outside linebackers, Cam Collins and Michael Doctor, who are very gifted athletes. And the sooner they get into the flow of playing in this league and playing in games and making plays as linebackers, that's going to be how we grow as a defense. And we lose one of the great players in America, Stephen Paya, a defensive tackle. But you know, this group's going to have to do it by committee. It's going to have to be that kind of all for one for all kind of mentality in our front 4. But I love the work ethic, I love the toughness, and I love the ability of that group.
And you mentioned Lance Mitchell, who's here with you here today. How big is it to have a guy with his kind of experience and leadership, but also the dynamic qualities he brings to the position back there? He seems like he can make a big play at any time.
Lance can make big plays. He's a great interceptor. He's a good tackler. He's very, very tough. I've seen him make 18 tackles in a game, you know, which I don't think your safety should be having to do that all the time. but I've seen him do it. And, you know, so and the other thing about Lance Mitchell, he's become not only a leader on our football team, he's a guy in our department and our school that is impacting lives. He went with a group of student athletes, about 3 or 4 other football players went with him during spring break, went to Guatemala. They built a house for a family. I mean, he's kind of stepping out of the box, and it is really a privilege for me, and I feel so fortunate to see these guys come in and see where they can grow as they become seniors, and to look back on Lance's life at Oregon State, see his growth, not only as a player, that has been tremendously obvious. He's a really good player, but on where his life is going and what he's experienced as a young man, it's really awesome.
And finally, can you talk about the restructuring of the Pac-10 now becoming the Pac-12, the divisional setup, the championship game. What do you look ahead to on your schedule, and how do you think you're going to approach the restructured conference?
Well, I don't know that it changes much of an approach. I do think that the competition is amped up, and I think it's pretty obvious the competition on the field. You look at Utah and what they brought to the college football world over the last few years, and you look at the capability of Colorado as a school and a program. You can kind of see, with Washington, Steve's doing a great job at Washington State, Paul Wolf's doing a great job there. Programs in our league are all getting better. They're all rising up, and the competition has been tougher and tougher. Now you add people to it. The other part of the competition that people don't talk about as much is where it's headed in recruiting. I mean, all of a sudden you've got 2 new schools wearing Pac-12 tags that are coming into California and looking at the same caliber of players that you are, so there's more and more competition all the time in all the areas, not just on the football field.
Well, Coach, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. This is Andrew Knoll for BowlGamer.com, and we'll have more from the Pac-12 throughout the day.